August 9th, 2029, 10:39 p.m. The DOJ told you the cameras were broken. They told you the guards were sleeping. They told you Jeffrey Epstein decided to check out of life in a perfect vacuum of incompetence. They lied. I'm holding the 2026 FBI observation memo that confirms an orange-clad figure was caught on surveillance moving toward Epstein's locked housing tier just hours before his body was found. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a forensic receipt that the mainstream media is trying to PR masterclass its way around. While James Comer is trying to hide Bill Clinton in a closed-door deposition, the footage is screaming. You want the unfiltered truth? The ghost in the hallway just broke the case wide open. Look, the fall-off of the official narrative needs to be studied in a lab. For years, we were fed the story that MCC New York was just a glicky mess. But these newly released 2026 Epstein files, they're a psychological trap for anyone still defending the standard account. We're looking at a specific FBI memo, document 3.2, that identifies a figure in an orange prison jumpsuit moving through the SHU common area at 10:39 p.m. Now the DOJ is out here coping and seething, trying to claim it was just a guard carrying linen. Since when do federal guards cosplay as inmates in orange jumpsuits to deliver towels? Make it make sense. Forensic video experts like Connor McCourt have already called cap. They're looking at the raw footage and seeing a person in a full orange uniform climbing the stairs toward Epstein's tier. And get this, the video has a cursor and an on-screen menu visible on it. That means the raw footage the government gave us was actually a screen recording of someone else watching the tape. Who was the original viewer, and what did they delete before hitting record? This is where the insider info gets haunting. Epstein's former cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, a quadruple murderer ex-cop, just dropped a 2026 declaration. He claims he was a state-sponsored hitman placed in that cell to finish Epstein. He says the Trump regime wanted him dead because Epstein was the ultimate liability. Tartaglione is literally calling it a setup, claiming he was offered a deal to stay silent. Think about the main character syndrome it takes to cover this up for 7 years. They move Tartaglione out, and then, magically, an orange figure appears on the one camera that supposedly worked, heading toward the one man who could bring down the entire DC roster. The Clintons are now demanding this be discussed in a public hearing. Why? Because they know the GOP is running scared of what that orange-clad ghost represents. This isn't just about a jail cell. It's about a breach of the most high-security lie in American history. If that figure wasn't a guard and it wasn't a ghost, then who had the keys to the kingdom that night? Stay tuned, because the receipts aren't just receding, they're burning the whole house down. The industry plant energy coming from the East Wing during the Trump years was always a bit off. But now we have the digital receipts to prove that the distance between the first family and the Epstein circle was a total PR fabrication. Everyone wants to talk about Bill Clinton's flights, but let's talk about the emails that the mainstream media is absolutely terrified to touch. We are diving into the leaked communications between Melania Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell. And no, this isn't just a "they were at a party once" situation. This is high-level sweet pea energy. In an email dated October 23, 2002, Melania, then Melania Naus, reaches out to Ghislaine Maxwell, whom she affectionately calls G. This isn't a formal inquiry, it's a main character checking in with her mentor. Melania writes, "Hey G, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein in New York Magazine." Let that sink in. She isn't just saying hi, she's praising an article where Donald Trump famously told the world that Jeffrey Epstein is a terrific guy who likes women on the younger side. Melania wasn't just a bystander, she was actively consuming and validating the narrative that Epstein was the king of the New York scene. She even compliments Gazelle, telling her she looks great in the picture. But the real cringe comes from Gazelle's response. Gazelle hits her back with, "Sweet pea. Thank you for your message, Sweet pea. Actually, plans changed again. I'm on my way back to New York, so I still don't think I have time to see you, sadly. Imagine being the future First Lady of the United States and getting little sistered by the world's most prolific trafficker. Gazelle calls her Sweet Pea like she's a pet, then basically tells her she's too busy to hang out. It shows the hierarchy. In this world, Gazelle was the one with the power, and Melania was the one trying to get on the calendar. The fall-off of the "I don't know them" defense is staggering. While Melania goes on TV claiming she's just here to promote her movie and talk about Israeli hostages, the documents show she was deep in the mix with G while the most grotesque crimes of the century were being plotted. And don't even get me started on the funding. Melania is out here getting $75 million from Jeff Bezos for her Be Best project, while he's gutting the Washington Post by half. The billionaire crossover is reaching final boss levels of suspicious. They want you to think these are separate worlds, the fashion world, the tech world, the political world. But the G-Files prove it's all one big sick house party, and Sweet Pea and a VIP pass. James Comer wants to talk about substance. This is the substance, the intimate nicknames, the coordinated PR, and the fact that the people currently asking for your vote were the ones sending "sadly can't see you" emails to a woman now sitting in a federal prison. The receipts don't just exist, they're screaming. Let's get one thing straight. The Clintons just called the biggest bluff in congressional history. For months, James Comer and the House Oversight Committee have been treating Bill and Hillary like the ultimate final bosses of the Epstein files. They threatened them with criminal contempt, they promised accountability with a capital A, and they hyped up these subpoenas like it was the series finale of Succession. But on February 2nd, 2026, the Clintons did the unthinkable. They caved. Or did they? Hillary is set for February 26th. Bill is set for February 27th. But here's the receipt that's making the GOP seethe. Bill is demanding the cameras stay on. He's not just agreeing to talk, he's challenging Comer to a live public hearing. He's basically saying, if you want to talk about my 26 flights on the Lolita Express, let's do it in front of 300 million people. No edits, no leaks, no regime media spin. This is a move straight out of the PR masterclass playbook. By demanding a public hearing, Bill is trapping the GOP in their own transparency logic. James Comer has spent 3 years screaming about how the American people deserve the truth. Well, the truth is knocking on the door, and suddenly Comer wants to do the deposition behind closed doors. Why the sudden pivot to privacy? Because a public hearing is a double-edged sword. If Bill Clinton gets on that stand and starts dropping 38,000 references to Donald Trump into the record while the red live light is on, the GOP loses control of the narrative. Clinton is framing this as a kangaroo court run by a party that's running scared. He's setting the precedent that if he has to go under oath, everyone in those files has to go under oath, and that includes the current resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Hillary isn't holding back. She's out here on X, Twitter, saying the cabal isn't where you think it is. She's pointing the finger directly at the Oversight Committee, calling it a cover-up racket for Donald Trump. The main character syndrome in this room is suffocating. The strategy is clear. The Clintons are trying to make the GOP look like they're the ones hiding the truth. They're saying, we're ready, we're sworn in, we're waiting. Why are the doors locked? It's a high-stakes gamble. If Bill goes in there and actually answers for the hot tub photos and the flight logs, he might just take the whole MAGA investigation down with him. The fall-off of the GOP's gotcha moment is real. They wanted a perp walk. They got a public challenge. This isn't just a deposition anymore. It's a televised war for survival. And as of right now, the Clintons are holding the remote. Stay tuned, because the main character of the MCC New York just dropped a manifesto that makes shakedown look like an understatement. We need to talk about Nicholas Tartaglione. If you don't know the name, Tartaglione is the beefy ex-cop and convicted quadruple murderer who shared a cell with Epstein just weeks before his suicide. For years, the story was that Tartaglione roughed up Epstein in a failed attempt. But in a 2026 pardon petition that just hit the desk of the DOJ, Tartaglione is flipping the script. He's not just denying the assault, he's claiming he was part of a coordinated hit operation. Tartaglione's declaration is absolute fire. He claims that New York federal prosecutors, specifically mentioning lead prosecutor Maureen Comey, offered Epstein a get-out-of-jail-free card. The price: implicate Trump. Tartaglione alleges Epstein was told he wouldn't even have to prove anything, as long as Trump's team couldn't disprove it. This is the receipt of all receipts. Tartaglione is claiming the FBI and DOJ weren't just investigating, they were weaponizing Epstein to take down a sitting president. But when Epstein wouldn't bend to play ball, the protection vanished. Tartaglione argues that he was deliberately placed in that cell, a literal quadruple murderer with Hulk-like muscles, to act as a deterrent or an executioner. He's calling his own placement a setup by the regime to ensure Epstein didn't survive long enough to stand trial. Think about the coping and seething